Welcome back. We're so glad to have you with us on another episode of the Realty Funnels Podcast. I'm delighted today to have the two founders of the West Collection, Kat and Jeremy West, with us today. Kat and Jeremy, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Glad to meet with you and connect with you. So let's start with a little bit about who you are, where you do your business, how long you've been in real estate.
Sure. Well, I have been in real estate for 8 years. Jeremy and I, this has nothing to do with real estate, but we've been married for 5 years. And we have both been in real estate that whole time. I'll let him explain his side, but we have been working together in this business for going on 2 years. In July, it'll be 2 years. I am grateful I was able to resign him from his position where he was before. And now we work as a team, and we have, is it 6 agents total, along with our
local team?
Yeah, on our local team, along with a transaction manager that manages all those transactions. And
yeah, and I started in real estate in 2009. I actually sold timeshare for, about 8 years with Marriott and Hilton, and then made the jump into new construction sales and worked for Ryan Homes for about 5 years, and then actually I was their sales and marketing manager for the Orlando territory, and did that for some years until her business got to the point where she used to say she retired me, and I was like, "Babe, I'm working just as much as I was then." So that's the first time she got resigned.
I know. Well, it feels cool to say retired, but one day,
And you're in Oviedo, which is in the Orlando metropolitan area in Florida.
Correct. Yep. Seminole County. So.
And tell us about your sales volume. Like, how many deals did you do last 12 months?
Sure. So the last year was a little bit slower than average. We had, obviously the market was a little bit more difficult, but we had some family. My
mom passed, so it kind of jolted things she lived with us.
Yeah.
And it was kind of our son's,
everything.
But we ended up last year with right around 10 million for our personal deals.
Yeah.
Year before that we did about 15, and this year we're trying to get 17 and a half, but I just couldn't decide between 20 or 15, so I just went with 17 and a half. So I did as meticulous as I could be.
Well, I'm sorry to hear of your mother's passing. Of course, family is what it's all about, and she was with you, and she was with your children, so that's a terrible loss. And it was bad enough that interest rates were rising last year, but then you have personal things that get into your business as well. And, thankfully you have all those great memories of your time with her, and your children do too.
Amen.
And honestly, I'm so grateful that we were planted where we are at eXp, and we started building other streams of income as well, because it didn't completely rock our boat financially, because you want to be able to give the time to go through something like that.
Absolutely.
So God is so good to us.
And God is so good to us too. Tell me a little bit more about your faith, because you bring your faith into your business in a bit of a pronounced way. Let's talk about that for a minute, because I think it's fantastic.
Sure. It's funny you say that, because it is in a bit of a pronounced and bold way. I know that probably about 8 years ago, it would have never been the case. But I just really felt a very strong calling to bring it into my messaging when it comes to social media. So for me, my business, I've grown it on social media. Instagram has been my number one. And I've just always been really open about my faith. So it transcends, right? It's not something that I can, not talk about because it is, it is just like the root, it is the rock, it is the foundation of everything that we do. And yeah, God just provides every single thing that we have. So how can I not talk about it? But I do, like I said, I do talk about it on social media. I've actually created a course for realtors, a faith-based course for realtors, because this is something that I was looking for when I got into the business. And when I started looking for coaching, like I really wanted a Christian coach to help and guide me. And although I do work with a lot of people who are believers, and I get value from people who are not as well, I just really wanted that faith base in my coaching. So God just put it on my heart, like, create it then.
And so let's talk about that. And I want to share with you a story about a little bit of our faith journey in our real estate business. But you have this powerful course to help real estate agents on their social media. Let's talk about that.
Sure. Yeah, it's so the course is completely self-paced. It's got 6 modules. It's the core of it, the foundation of it is really finding what God has to say about you and your business. Like, not how I'm doing it, but we go through some different spiritual practices and tests to find out like exactly where your next step in your business should be. And it changes all the time too, right? Like it's not always the same. So we go through that. And then I get like very practical with social media and go through reels and, how to boost the algorithm within posting, and as well as like helping convert when you're putting the stories and the reels and all that good stuff out there. How do you convert that to actual sales and actual conversations with people so you can take it off of Instagram? So it's a little bit of both, but it's definitely got a very strong spiritual foundation.
I love it. I love it. One of my favorite pastors says that you should be preaching always and use words only when necessary.
Oh, I
That's
love
good.
that. I love that. Well, and I do want to mention that another part of the course that I started implementing, because I found it so important and like just a fundamental to the course actually working, is we do a monthly coaching. So we have a time of like a devotional and prayer, and then we go through coaching where the students are able to ask me questions, and we can get on and, check out their Instagram and whatnot, depending on what's going on with that coaching. But they get access to that once a month as well.
Awesome. And this is called
Thrive on Social.
Awesome. I just think it's fantastic. And I think that we all have a platform. We all have a way in which we can minister to other people. Some people take a religious or theological approach. They go to seminary, they learn how to preach a sermon. But the fact is, we all have that, and we're all supposed to do that.
Yeah.
My platform has just been residential real estate sales. That's how I get to be, Christ to others. And that's how I get to demonstrate my faith. And I think it's really powerful. And I think that it's really important that people recognize that.
Yeah. We're in front of people all the time, and in different walks of life. And, we're supposed to let that light shine the way He has gifted us to, let it shine and use those gifts. So,
the other interesting thing too is that Jesus spoke about financial situations as much as He spoke about anything else, and more than He spoke about a lot of things that you would think He would have talked about more.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. I think that we were just talking about this the other day. I think there is a big misconception that if you are a Christian, then you should be living poorly. Right?
No, of course.
Because I just think there's such a big, even if that's not the exact mindset that somebody has, or the exact thought process of that, I should live poorly. I think it's a mindset that many have created, that they're going to give more if they live poorly. And that is just simply not true when you dig into scripture, right?
Of course. And we know that we are blessed in order to be a blessing.
Yes.
And the more that we're blessed, the more that we can be a blessing to other people. And we can't be a blessing to anyone else if we're not only financially poor, but living a poor mental lifestyle as well. But yes, we succeed in business so that we can be more of the person that God wants us to be. One of my favorite phrases is that money can only do two things. It can make you comfortable enough to make you creative enough in order for you to be all that you can be in the world.
Mm.
And if you don't have money, if you're not having success, and for those people listening today, they might be in the real estate space. If you're not having the type of success that you want to have in your real estate space, then you're not going to be as creative as you could be. You're not as comfortable as you want to be. Therefore, you can't possibly be the fullest expression of God's plan for your life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because you're controlled by having to get that next commission check. And I think that's what I think about is it's not like money goals. It's like that financial freedom goal. Like we
Yes.
want to be able to live our life and give and help people. And, we've all been through experiences in our life where we were in, the crevices and struggling. So like, that's truly the motivation. And I think for real estate, like we have that heart that we just want to help people, that's like the Christian heart. So that's why, it becomes a really fun job when all of those things start to align.
And when you have all of your systems in place and when you have a plan for your business, then you're able to take the action steps that you should take so that the commissions just show up. The next client is there, your pipeline is full, you don't have commission breath. Desperation repels, whereas abundance attracts.
Yeah.
Right.
So where can people go to get your course?
Sure. So they can go to stan.store/CatWest.
Okay, great.
And then also at that link, I have quite a bit of other offerings. I do have a free 3-day devotional as well that is specific for entrepreneurs, not just realtors, but entrepreneurs in general. I started it as like I had kind of a boot camp, like a 3-day boot camp, and decided to go ahead and just give out that devotional because it's just so rich in helping you getting to that place of just like abiding in the Lord and what does He want, and when we abide in Him, He will make us prosperous. So grab that 3-day Devo.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that for everyone as well. That's just really great. So I love that Jeremy was talking about 15 million, 20 million in sales volume. Well, let's just call it 17 and a half. So with that type of sales volume, how many transactions do you plan for that to be?
We're right. I mean, our average sales price, it's gone up to probably close to 600,000. So,
Great.
Gosh, I have to pull out my sheet, but I think our goal is in the like 35 to 40 range is what we're hoping for.
Fantastic. And that's totally within reach. I mean, the Orlando real estate market is just constantly abuzz. It's a world-class destination. I'm in St. Petersburg, Florida right now. Our winter home is in St. Petersburg. Our summer home is in Seattle. What I love about the Florida real estate market is that it's a global real estate market. Yeah. People from around the world will consider buying subtropical real estate in the United States in US dollars, protected by the US military, accessible by the highway system and the air transport system to the rest of the United States. Mm-hmm. Who in the world won't buy Florida real estate? So right there, you're not far from Disney. So you're really constantly dealing with activity. How is it that you go about finding your ideal clients?
So we really try to be local in Oviedo where we are, but we have expanded. We have gotten over 40% of our business from referrals.
Yeah.
Yeah, over 40% of our business is agent to agent referrals within EXP. So that being said, it's not all just in Oviedo, it's all over Central Florida. And that's why we have expanded to build a team. Because I mean, we also have a national team, but obviously we need that focus here. So as far as ideal clients though, I know I'll speak for myself,
Yeah,
and
because they're going to be different.
It's different. I go about it through social media, and I'm a part of like a huge moms group, and just very active. Well, we both are very active in our community and know a lot of people here. So those are my ideal clients, are the people that I'm surrounded by, the moms. And then, I share my story very organically and openly and vulnerably on social media. So a lot of it is, Christian mom realtors and families. But actually, you would be really surprised when I first started like being so open and bold about my faith. One of my highest paying like luxury clients was a Muslim family.
Mhm.
And it was so cool because it was just this confirmation from God that like, no, just keep doing what I'm saying. Like, you don't have to worry about like, are you going to be cutting people out when you really focus on your ideal client? So I thought that was pretty cool.
Very cool. I'll share with you both that Lisa and I, back in 2014, 2015, we felt drawn to volunteer for a Christian ministry. And this preacher traveled around the country and she spoke in arenas. And Lisa and I really enjoyed following her teachings. And so we thought, well, she's coming to Tampa. Let's go to Tampa and let's volunteer to help at the Tampa event. And we absolutely loved volunteering at the Tampa event. At that time, Lisa and I had one of our own homes on the market. We are crazy in that way. We've bought and sold 12 homes in the last 11 years.
Wow.
We move all the time. As you can imagine, if you go into a lovely home, you're like, this is a lovely home. And Lisa's like, yeah, let's buy it. I'm like,
That's me.
Same.
So, everywhere I go, I'm like, we got to move to the villages.
Yes, get a golf cart. So we were volunteering at this wonderful event, and we had one of our homes on the market, and we were really shooting for a top dollar price for this home that we had really made gorgeous. And Lisa made a deal with God that she didn't tell me about, that if our home sold for that amount, that we would volunteer for the next year with this ministry. And so a few days later, went under contract over asking price. We got our number. Lisa then said, okay, now here's what we have to do. So then we volunteered and helped out at all those events over the next 12 months. We got to travel all over the country. What was amazing about it was that was our highest sales volume, highest income year that we had ever had.
Wow.
And when we were at the events, our phone didn't ring. When we got back from the event, sometimes we were in Denver or in Phoenix or in Hershey, Pennsylvania, or in Tacoma, Washington, phone didn't ring. Got back to Tampa, phone was ringing off the hook. We had a whole bunch of listings. So they all got under contract. Sometimes when we were at the events, we were dealing with home inspection issues, but other than that, phone didn't ring. Got back into Tampa, phone's ringing off the hook. Best year ever. And we were away the most we had ever been away. So yes, just take a bold step.
God is I love stories like that. Like I'm tearing up over here because that's just so cool. Like God is just so faithful. I love that.
I'll share with you another interesting story since we're on this path. Lisa's very first listing, she had spent 23 tax seasons as a certified public accountant. She still is a CPA. She's been a CPA since 1993. Her very first listing after she got her real estate license and left the accounting firm was from one of her accounting firm partners who called her up and said, hey, this church in Bradenton, Florida is looking to sell their land where they have an old church that they're no longer using. So Lisa took that listing. Her very first listing was a church. We had it on the market, and people doing fitness programs thought it'd be a great space for a yoga studio or a gym. The church was sort of hoping that a church would buy it. We were sort of hoping that a church would buy it. A young couple contacted Lisa and explained that they were a church, a new couple creating their own church, and that they really didn't have the money that it would take, but they'd love to take a look at the property, and Lisa would be the only agent involved, so maybe that could be helpful to the church working with them. They made an offer. The church said, wow, we'd love to help them, but it's too big of a gap. Lisa was the only agent involved. She said, I can be flexible on my fees, bridge a bit of the gap. I can't bridge all the gap, but maybe if I do this, then the church purchasing the property could maybe up their offer. Maybe the church selling the property could lower their expectations a little bit. She was able to make it happen. When we met with the church and the church elders, they were doing their home inspection. One of the church elders said that her husband, who had never liked going to church, who didn't really go to church, she was an elder in the church and was excited about this new home because they'd been meeting in homes, and now that they would have a proper church. When the husband, and I'll get choked up about this, when the husband realized what Lisa did to make the deal happen, it restored his faith.
Wow.
Her very first deal.
Wow.
So we have a lot of history in our own business of putting God first and having a belief that God is in charge and we're just here to be his hands and feet to other people. But that when we heard that from that woman about her husband, we were just like, wow.
So good. So good.
Oh, so much more I could talk about with you. I'd love to know a little bit more about, how you go about all the work that you do as a husband and a wife. Lisa and I have been talking about, and maybe we'll get to it finally this year, we want to put together a course for husbands and wives in real estate called Successfully Ever After.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we'll take it.
Yeah.
We've learned so much.
Yeah, I would say the first year was tougher than we expected it to be. We wanted to kind of take part in every facet, and we've really learned, I would say, in the past, I don't know exactly 5, 6, 7 months, we kind of just started to separate, like, you work on this, you work on this, and it gives us that time to like do our own projects without having to be like critical of what the other person is doing. And so it helps. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but I mean, it's been really great like the past few months.
Oh yeah. That has helped tremendously. And I remember people telling us to do that at the very beginning and just thinking, that's impossible. Like, I get what you're saying, but with us, that's impossible because we both are like, our strong suits are the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I do feel like it's all God, like how he like helped us to like go to our own corners.
Yeah.
And me, like I had a really hard time because I had been doing this on my own. I mean, obviously he's been like my biggest supporter, but I'd been, essentially running my business on my own for, 7 years. And then he comes in and he's like, well, we need to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, excuse me.
I have I was in the corporate world forever. So I have that corporate mindset of, very quarterly planning and forecasting
and there's so many things that I just like had to let go of so that we could grow and like get to this next, but it was hard for me to like personally let go of them and let him, like we just had Like our buyer consultations, we would always do them together. Our listing presentations, we would always do them together. And now, like a lot of times, we actually just did a buyer consultation together the other day, and it was like, oh, we need to continue doing them apart. But it's gone so much better because I'm like, I like what he does, but for some reason, when we're there doing it together, sometimes it's harder.
Yeah,
right?
because you want all the successes. It's like our human nature. We want to be a part of those successes. So it's
Yeah.
hard to say, you're better at that a little bit, even though I don't want to say it. Like you do that, and then I can focus on. But it's good because now we're highlighting each other's strengths, and we can have open conversations. Like, I think this area might be better for me because. And now when we do that, it doesn't start fights or anything. We just talk about it openly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. There is so much about the real estate industry that really lends itself very comfortably to husbands and wives, partners, people who are in relationship together, to work together. First off, there is no ceiling to what we can earn. The reality of it is, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2 when we're in business with our partners, when we have this relationship. It really becomes exponential very quickly.
Yeah.
And then we're working on a common goal. We have our family, we have our dreams, we have what we're trying to accomplish, we have the future together. And then working together just is a phenomenal opportunity for us to really be a fuller expression of who we're meant to be.
Yeah. Sorry, we're going to say
Oh,
something.
I was just going to say, I think it kind of goes hand in hand with a lot of agents that we work with that are top agents, that it's time for them to start scaling. It's the delegating part, which seems to be like the biggest obstacle for a lot of people to take that step. And I feel like that's kind of what it is with the husband and wife, but also other people might be able to relate to that maybe aren't comfortable getting a TC or aren't comfortable getting an assistant or administrator or even just like a buyer's agent.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question, which I think is so helpful, especially for newer agents, people who haven't been in the business as long as you both have been in the business, as long as I've been in the business. What do you wish you knew when you started that you know now?
Okay. I wish I knew. I feel like this took me a good at least 2 years, if not 3, that I don't need to take on other people's problems as my own.
Very good.
Because that was the biggest struggle, is that I would be like stressed for them and think that things were being taken out on me when it was the situation. So then it did make it like I kind of made it about me, even though it wasn't. And I see it so many times from our agents as well, like our new agents. And they're like, oh my gosh, what do I do about this? They canceled. They're not going to buy a house at all now. And I'm like, they'll be back tomorrow. It's fine.
Yeah.
And if they're not, there'll be another one.
Absolutely. Jeremy, how about you? What do you wish you knew way back when that you know now?
I'm big in sales and marketing. That's my history. I wish I would have realized that I should have spent more time learning from people that I didn't think I should learn from. I think a lot of agents, when they're younger, they flock to the people that they fit with the most. And so they're learning the styles that they're comfortable with. And when I was younger, if I would have learned the styles that maybe I didn't think were right, but from successful people that are implementing them right, it would have molded me quicker and I would have learned the other side. I've learned a lot from her and our network on the social media marketing side. And it's been so helpful because I'm always like, oh, you don't need to do all that. Just get down and, just grind.
And now he's making YouTube videos.
Yeah, very good. So I want to share with people how they can connect with you. So your website is thewestcollection.com.
Yes.
And then people can grab that Thrive on Social course from you from stan.store/catwest, and that's KATWEST.
Mhm.
Stan Store, STAN.store. And your focus is Oviedo, Seminole County in Florida. So those people who are thinking of moving to that area, or those agents who have referrals for that area.
They're
I'm
usually
delighted.
it's usually coming up as Orlando, and
Mhm.
then you don't know where in Orlando that is. So
And just real quick plug, how important are buyer's agents in Florida? Because when people
Ooh.
want to move to Orlando, they have no idea what that means. So
yeah,
getting someone that knows not just the areas, but everything about the communities and where to find the right houses. Let's not forget how important buyer's agents are at this point.
Absolutely. And it's so important too when you consider that if a consumer were to connect with you for the Orlando market area, if they were to connect with me for St. Petersburg, for example, what could take them weeks and months, I'll get them through that in days.
Yes.
yeah,
100%.
And they don't have to go about figuring this all out on their own when they have a knowledgeable guide who can help them with the whole process. And really, it starts with that initial buyer consultation.
Mhm.
And I tell people that, look, you can meet with me for an hour, it'll save you 6 weeks. And they're like, I'll give you an hour. And then they're glad that they did,
yeah.
because they picked up so much in that first hour that they realized, I didn't know I needed to think about that.
Yeah.
I had questions about that, but I didn't realize how important it was. So
Oh,
yes,
we
I
could do
agree.
a whole nother conversation on that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it would be great to have you back. I appreciate you being with us. Jeremy and Kat West, thank you so much for joining us today on Realty Funnels Podcast. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having
Yeah,
us.
God bless. Thanks for having us. We love stuff like this.
Thank you. We do too, and it's been a pleasure.